Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Before I Go podcast. We are celebrating Love Month at the podcast, and every Tuesday I am exploring love during a different decade of my life. Last week, we looked at the mess of my 20s, and today we are picking up with the 30s. And in my 30s, I was still a mess. In fact, it got worse. I would have to categorize the years between 1994 and 2003 as bitterly angry. Or is it angrily bitter? Either way, I was angry and I was bitter. I look back and I feel like there was so much anger that there was just no room for love. Not only was I angry and bitter, but I worked very hard every day to prove that I wasn't. I turned 30 and I quite literally had a breakdown. My daughter was just born and my husband was in the military, so sometimes he was home, but most of the time he wasn't. Being in a new place with 2 small children and no help was hard. This was not what I thought my life would look like at 30. I did not know how to express what I was feeling, so I kept it all in and kept it moving. I wore this mask and played the part of the functional wife and mother while all the while I was dying inside. My husband was 8 years younger than me, and he could not understand what I was going through. I don't blame him for my inability to communicate what I was feeling. I was lonely and resentful. I was married but still felt like a single parent. We had no money, and the neighborhood we lived in was in the heart of the hood. I was miserable. The truth is, even if I did know how to communicate all of that, if I'm being honest, that marriage was a mistake from jump. The only positive thing that came from that marriage was my daughter. I'll say this, with both my marriages, there was never any conversations about goals or values or finances, nothing. It was basically, I like you, you like me, we get along, so why not? I believe it was destined to fail, and it did. And I own that. I stayed married for 8 years, and deciding to divorce my husband and break up my family was difficult, but necessary. I carried around a lot of guilt for years. In fact, right after the divorce was final, I took my kids to Disney World because of the guilt. So I'm dealing with anger and bitterness and depression and guilt. I'm raising 2 small children on my own and working full time. And you would think that I would take this time to recognize that I have some issues and deal with them. Nah. Instead, I look for the next boyfriend. Let me rephrase. I was not actively looking for someone. However, when the situation presented itself, I did not turn it down. At the end of my 30s, I met someone new. I was not in a good mental space to embark on a new relationship, but being alone didn't seem like the right thing to do either. I was still not able to communicate what I needed, so I accepted what I got. And what I got was about 7 years of the most emotionally abusive relationship of my life. I was emotionally unstable, and that is exactly what I attracted and brought into my life. Now, I'm in my 40s. I need you to tune in next week when we enter my 40s, and you'll find out how I went from bitterly angry to aggressively reflective. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. But before I go, let me share this with you from Jim Henson. Forgive your anger. Forgive your guilt, your shame, your sadness. Embrace and open up your love, your joy, your truth, and most especially, your heart. I'll see you next time.